Hello, stranger. This is Shag, and we are going to continue our casual stroll through Super Mario World because I felt like it. There's no other reason. Let's remember the controls. Yay. Controls remembered. As you may remember, we are not to use the run button. The run button is not casual stroll enough for Mario. Hey there, Bats. How's it going? We will, of course, have to use it to pick stuff up. And there is no just pick stuff up button, there's two run buttons. Which is a little bit weird, but hey. That brief bit of running was merely to demonstrate that fact. Just so you know. Okay, so I had to run to duck under that, but hey. So there's sometimes when you might have to break the rule a little bit, but maybe not. I'll try and think a little bit harder on any future occurrences. Hey there, Koopa. How's it coopin'? Bonk. I hope you enjoy small holes in the ground. They may or may not be filled with anything interesting whatsoever. Oh, this could be a problem. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that you have to run through this part. Because, yeah. I kind of forgot about the giant deadly cheese. We'll switch procedure when we get to that part again. Everything should be fine, don't worry too much. You can't really casually stroll through death lava as easily as you can through other materials. Ta-da! No running. Problem solved. Problem not solved. As I recall, I didn't actually die too much last time. Let's fix that, shall we? I could use this control pad instead of this control stick in order to not accidentally save state. And while figuring that out, I could ignore that. Honestly, the control stick feels better. I'm so good at video games. Whee! Oh wait, I can't go down through things if I'm small. Vanilla Dome, you may foil me yet. Yeah, that went a big nowhere. This could be a problem. Or maybe it won't be. Who knows? We'll find out. I'm so good at things. Well. Vanilla Dome 1, you are my worst enemy starting today. I will solve your mysteries. Figures I'd be foiled by the plainest of all flavor. Vanilla. Chocolate comes later. Well, I guess I could get a second power-up thing here, though I don't really know how much fire is going to help me out. Answer not very... Would have been nice if I knew that was there. Oh, Vanilla Dome, you sneak. Let me just casually flutter my way around here. Ah, the cave music. Those beats are a little bit more relaxing when you're, well, relaxing. Oh, this part. I guess we have to run. Sigh. Enjoy this brief breaking of procedure. Hiya! Okay, back to normal. Let's pretend that never happened. Everything is just the same as it always was. Can you kill these guys by spinning? I honestly don't remember. I remember now. Funny how that works. Memory is really just remembering. What am I talking about? Oh, that's right. Absolutely nothing. Thank you for that dragon coin, which I'm sure I will not cash in. There aren't any banks locally which take those. So I guess they just refund them as extra lives somehow. I'm not quite sure how that works. Mario must have some sort of magical wallet that recognizes when he has 5 of something. Hey there, football Chuck. Chuck that football in your grave. You will be forever remembered as the Underworld's premier quarterback. Assuming that they have football. Or quarterbacks. They could have football without quarterbacks. In the Underworld, everyone is a goalie. It gets very awkward. Even if football, doesn't have goalies. It doesn't matter. I mean, heck, they can't even play golf, because there's a dude sitting on the golf hole, being like, you can't get that in here, it's against regulation. Please see Form 4A-CD, and check with the hell lawyer, Stan, in order to make sure that you are allowed to be playing golf. Recreational activities are not part of your punishment. Please report to the Crime and Punishment Office on floor 8. Thank you for your time. Signed, Stan. There's more than one Stan in hell. Video games don't tend to allow you to do that. There can be more than one person with the same name. Most RPGs don't seem to realize this fact. Though, granted, it would make them, make characters less unique if there are other people named exactly the same thing. It's kind of an unavoidable fact of life. Can you imagine if naming children was just like getting a username on a website? It was like, sorry, that name is already taken. We'd have kids named like Brian112 or xxxsephirothbishi.com. It would be a horrible place, this Earth. I would not name my kid Chargin Chuck either. Assuming, of course, that I had children. And also, well, I guess that doesn't necessarily assume that it was male. I assume it is legally possible to name a girl Chuck. Though, I don't know why you would. And naming someone's Chargin as their first name would be even worse. Maybe Chuck Chargin would be. Maybe Chargin as their middle name would sound a lot cooler. Chuck Chargin. And she's like some sort of girl. Yes, I don't know. That's how pronouns work, generally. If she is something, it is at least a girl. Whether on the inside or the outside. There is some girl to be had there. I imagine a girl named Chuck Chargin would be kind of a recluse. can't get popular if you're a girl named Chuck Chargin. At least I wouldn't assume so, unless popularity in this case is based on absurdity, which is always possible. Popularity works in mysterious ways. I can't say that I'm a master of it, considering my relative YouTube subscriber numbers and or my presence in real life as a quote-unquote nerd. You may put as many R's into that as you wish. It does not really affect the outcome too terribly much. So, you might have noticed in the meantime that we have giant green gas bubbles of death. I don't have a lot to say about those, honestly, except that they are one of the most underutilized resources in Mario World ROM hacks, as far as I know. Oh dear, what is this crime we have committed against humanity? Oh, ghost houses never change. You never will change, because you'll never be renovated, because nobody loves you. Poor old abandoned house. Hi there, Big Boo. How do you get so big? How does a boo increase in size? What procedure takes place? Are they amalgamations of mini boos, as shown in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door for the GameCube, released in sometime in the 2000 era? I want to say 2000 or 2004, but those are very weird specific dates. Probably 2004 is closer out of those two things. And the boo in that case was the atomic boo. Oh hey, I accidentally got hit somehow. For the record, even if you do use these in Mario ROM hacks, you can't really retexture them into very much of significance. Boop, boop. I guess we might as well carry this. Oh no, I'm running. Mario, why does your... Hang on. Notice when Mario runs, the pixels on his lower lip there change color. At least when he's carrying something. It's fairly awkward. I guess maybe his running involves punching his lip repeatedly so it bruises. But Mario heals very rapidly. Except when he actually gets hit by something and he becomes half of his size. Mushroom Kingdom healthcare must be fairly awkward. Or like, at least very... I don't know. Simple. Mushroom Kingdom healthcare, aka the mushroom aisle of the grocery store. Mushroom prices must be pretty exorbitant, since they're kind of like required for living for some reason. I'm sure there's some sort of toad business manufacturer man that is taking extreme advantage of this. Mushroom Kingdom economic crises are not really deemed worthy of, like, Mario games, generally. How would you like that? Mario teaches accounting. I think you would be very unhappy. Unless, of course, its sequel is Mario becomes a movie producer. Then maybe you could do it. Skull rafts are a very niche industry in the Mushroom Kingdom as well. People use them slightly often in ROM hacks, I want to say. And by slightly often, I mean they're still kind of uncommon. It's good to know that the rest of Vanilla Dome kind of sticks to the casual strollability. Look at that, perfect timing. Capes are really good, by the way. Even if you take out the flying, they're pretty amazing. This pipe is not suspicious at all. Oh no, I might have to run again. Oh, game. You and your unique travesties. Triangle blocks, triangle blocks. Also, very not used often in ROM hacks, now that I think about it. I specifically avoided using them in my ROM hack because I couldn't figure out how to properly sprite the going up a wall diagonal sprite. So it looked like my Mario sprite replacement had his head on sideways. You may or may not ever seen that hack actually exist. You'll just have to take my word for it that it's a thing that happened to a degree at some point. It may not ever fully be realized, but it sure does exist. The Mario replacement is just me, by the way, or at least the character of Shag, which is one reason that I'm not quite sure about it anymore. Because, like, self-insert into Mario, I mean, on one hand it's self-insert, which is always pretty lame, but on the other hand it's self-insert in a way where you get yourself abused repeatedly by various creatures. Possibly those of your own design, depending on how much sprite editing you do in this particular case. Basically, it comes down to, is self-insert okay if your character dies repeatedly? And the answer is, there's a fine line between... See, if you take self-insert to use its usual meaning in, like, a actual fictional story, wherein the self-insert is often a Mary Sue, aka way too perfect, and everything awesome happens to them, and whether or not they're actually a realistic depiction of the author, or rather who they would like to be, is not really the important part. But if they are way too perfect, they're called a Mary Sue. But then there are some people who just do a Mary Sue parody, where they are the exact opposite of perfect, and they do everything horribly, and that can be just as bad, honestly. At least as far as I know. So you have to draw a fine line, which is best avoided by going about 50 miles to the right or the left on the canvas, and drawing different lines completely unrelated to self-inserts, or anything close to that. So what I'm getting at is, oh my god, there's a lot of bullets. Hey, the bullet generator patterns. This particular one also not used in ROM hacks very much. Mostly bullet generators are used in ROM hacks as, oh, this level isn't hard enough. I should add some random stupid crap to it to make it possibly extremely frustrating. That's called bad level design. I'm guilty of that particular, hey, let's add bullets, but then at least I changed my mind later. This turn block has something hidden inside because we cannot bust it. That's exactly what I expected it to be. Hello, 1-Up. Nice for you to grate into my pocket. That didn't make a lot of sense, but the general meaning may or may not have gotten across. The basic idea I wanted to convey was that I was mildly pleased at having an extra life. Funny how walking slowly through levels, I think I've only encountered a hurry up time thing, like once, in the previous level before this one. Hello, Lemmy's Castle. I'm gonna go ahead and drop a save state here, because I do that. Oh. Hello, Magic Koopa. How are you today? Would you like to blast a hole in the floor? Doesn't look like you'd be particularly interested in that. Magic Koopa, yet another thing not very used in ROM hacks. Well, at least not for the turn block destroying purpose. If Magic Koopas are used, it's generally in a way similar to the random bullet construction generator thing, i.e., let's annoy the player. This could be annoying. Speaking of, I must run for it. I'm sorry, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. And sometimes you gotta, like, turn up the number on the treadmill a tiny bit. I'm not actually sure if that was necessary, but it looked necessary. What is with these Koopalings and the stuff rising and falling within lava castle design? Maybe it's some sort of Koopa feng shui. It allows the chi energy to go in and out at a relatively even pace. And sometimes it magically prevents Mario from correctly hitting the jump button and impeding his progress. I guess that particular one-up room was not necessary, since that showed us a different area of the castle which we could have gone through to get to the same location, i.e. further to the right. The cape is pretty much necessary for a lot of the walk slowly idea, I think, considering the jumps that you'd have to make otherwise. There's a bit of air dashing there that I apologize for. That's the thing about multi-use buttons. They're like the only way it could be worst is worst, yes. Worse or worst, depending on the level of extreme that it happens to be bad. But as I was saying, the worst thing besides multi-use buttons would be the context-sensitive buttons. If the context which it is sensitive to is very small. For example, if there were an item that Mario had to pick up, but the pick up button was also the, like, self-destruct button, and you were a frame away from the explosion, picking up item, it's an unlikely scenario that Mario would need to self-destruct, unless of course he was a robot, which is very possible. Making the protagonist a robot is a good way to explain and justify the live system, to a degree, in that multiple copies of them would be produced. Hello, was it Lemmy? I've already forgotten your insignificant name, sir. It is indeed Lemmy. Here's a tip. If you're making a ROM hack, you can actually edit the rooms of Lemmy and Wendy, both of the pipe-based bosses. Here's another tip. Don't try to do it by adding like 50 potobos to it, because that means you're a jerk. And nobody likes jerks. Except for teenage girls, maybe. Depending on the teenage girl. Everyone's different. But that tends to be a running theme of high school or middle school eras of your life. Destroying a castle with a hammer is very not a running theme of either of those. Huzzah! Mario has triumphed, and we have not found either of the switches mentioned in this brief paragraph, because that would require an extra bit of effort in Mario's momentum. Effort which I do not particularly care to go through. As a result of Vanilla Dome, we have reached the Cheese Bridge area. It is not merely a cheese bridge, it is an area encompassed within the bridge, or by the bridge perhaps. The bridge has like a living space of its own, you might say. It's some sort of neighborhood, perhaps. Maybe there are some Koopa workers who inhabit the Cheese Bridge area. If the bridge was removed, would it still be the Cheese Bridge area? Like the formerly known as Cheese Bridge area, or maybe the recently deceased Cheese Bridge area. If you made a bridge out of cheese, it would probably be very disgusting after a short period of time to boot. Like these wooden logs, which may or may not be meant to represent the cheese within the cheese bridge construction. If they are indeed cheese, the fact that they are brown and have tree rings on them is a bit of concern. Of course, it could be local Koopa dialect, referring to forests as, or trees in this case as cheese. Tree and cheese are slightly similar words, after all. I guess they could be forgiven if they didn't have a very high level of education, which there's no evidence to support them having. Other than, of course, Ludwig, who must have some sort of education to enable his musical prodiginess, which we never really see evidence of, come to think of it. Unless his music somehow transmutes into having a different fight pattern than the rest of the bosses. Hello, Cookie Mountain. Again, mild concern if your cookies are covered with moss. Oh, this could be just green frosting, I suppose. Though I don't know why you'd frosting an entire mountain. It would be kind of inefficient and time-consuming. Especially when people are gonna step all over it. This is a level where, when I thought about trying to play the game without, killing anything, where this particular obstacle, that is all the moles and the cliffs, was kind of difficult. Here you can see that if you put a pipe on top of concrete blocks or other similarly shaped blocks, you have a tiny bit of graphical cutoff, even in the original Super Mario World. Going back to what I was saying a long time ago about jerks, and then going back even further to what I was saying a further time ago about naming a girl Chuck Chargin. I have no idea whether or not she would be into jerks at that particular era of her life, being that she is a fictional character which I invented within the space of this video. It's difficult for me to come up with so many details at such short notice. Though as a recluse, I suppose she would be picked on often enough to not really like that sort of behavior. She'd be the sort to be sitting in the corner, going down pipes into unexpected tide levels. What the... Oh. Speaking of unexpected, traveling to the left in a platformer. Also Porcupuffers. They're kind of jerks too, actually. I probably should have kept going rather than going for that feather. But that's a lesson that I have learned today and will keep in reserve for another day, another time. Hello, Mole Brigade. You sure are happy to have killed me. I didn't quite notice that expression on your face prior to this event. Suppose I shall let you fan out. Aha, a double kill. And yet again we access this vine, for no particular purpose. Let's not go down that pipe this time, perhaps. Ah. Hello, Red Switch. Red Switch blocks, that is. The Red Switch, I believe, is located in Vanilla Dome, whereas the Green Switch is located in that scrolling cave level, which was in the previous video. I have no idea what I'm supposed to do to get that, considering there's no easily accessible Koopa shell within the region. Hi. Hi. That's kind of difficult. Oh! Chuck, you surprised me. I didn't expect you to be the jumping type. You were very excited there. I don't know what for, but I'll have to keep your excitement in mind once I finish rewinding time and getting back to you on that. Your call is very important to us. Please hold. I'm just gonna let that vine grow yet again. You know, in case it needs it for some reason. I can't imagine why a plant would need to grow. That would just be silly. I also don't really know why moles can't jump, now that I think about it. I mean, they leap perfectly fine out of the ground, but beyond that they are powerless. If they don't have ground to leap out of, leaping is just right out of the question. I probably could kill that sumo guy. Oh dear. Chuck, I'm sorry to make this so personal, but I'm afraid you're gonna have to die for the good of the Mushroom Kingdom. Did I say die? I meant take a rest. Let's be very peaceful about it. Speaking of Ludwig, which I believe I spoke of not too long ago, here is his castle. I believe it is the only use of this particular background within the game, which in Lunar Magic is a pasteable object in castle levels. Wow, that was a shame that happened. I certainly didn't expect it. But anyway, this background, as a running theme of the video, yet another thing not often utilized in ROM hacks. Spiky ball maces, though, definitely used in ROM hacks. There's no question about that one. For some reason, this level was hard to me as a kid. Maybe it's whatever the next part is that was difficult. Well, I see a lowering death ceiling of death. That could be a problem. Yeah, I'd say that could be a problem. This is why we have save states, because saving this game otherwise is obnoxious due to outdated technology. Or perhaps a desire to preserve the classical feel of Mario, in the case of not any hard saves. Honestly, convenience over challenge is much preferred. For example, that would be one of the main reasons why I dislike Final Fantasy III. I have not played the original NES version, but the DS remake continues with the NES version's limitation of not being able to save, like, at the very end. Like, you can only save at save points and so on. And it doesn't stick any save points into the 3-hour-ish final dungeon of the game. I might have to run. Just a hunch. Yeah, that wouldn't have happened with just walking. As unfortunate as that may be. I really don't understand why this was challenging too much. There's nothing really challenging about nets in this game. But yes, Final Fantasy III. It has a very long final dungeon, where everything leading up to the final boss is on a different level or tier of difficulty than the final boss itself. And by that I mean that the final boss has an attack which can basically one or two shot you. And it gets the ability to move multiple times in a turn. It's not exactly fair or pleasant if you have to do a 3-hour thing again after a cheap move takes you by surprise. Oh, hello, Ludwig. I'm just gonna save state in front of you for convenience, just in case I do something silly. I really don't know why you get such a unique pattern. You also have a very wide fighting arena. That's a bit silly. Apparently his fireballs just go through you if you're small or ducking. Oh dear. He appears to be off the screen. That looks like it would still hurt. That certainly did still hurt. I was too busy marveling at the silliness of his fireballs. Okay, let's try a little bit harder than that. A little. Can you spin jump as fireballs, I wonder? Oh well. It's probably not gonna come up. Hey, Ludwig. What sort of compositions do you do anyway? You're not a very well composed person, I can tell you that much. Even though that doesn't really make a lot of sense, it is there only for pun usage. Time ran out, or almost ran out, but mostly it ran out for Ludwig. Ludwig von Koopa's days of symphony composing are over, is what the next castle message will say, somewhat. I think this is the castle animation that one of the ones that I enjoy most. That poor hill, though. Ludwig von Koopa's days of composing Koopa symphonies are over, see? Anyway, time for Mario to use his brain to solve the puzzles of a perplexing forest or something. At least he will, in the future. Oh, the Forest of Illusion music. Not nearly as omnipresent as the Gina's Woods music as far as forest stuff goes. But those trees, man. Those trees. So this has been Shag. This has been mostly a casual stroll through Super Mario World, and a casual stroll through the tangents of my brain. And if we continue doing this even more, next time will be this forest here. Let's have a little preview. Oh man, it's a forest. There's a wiggler, and there's a pit.